Hello and welcome back to the channel with me, the Orienteering Kid, where today is our last day in Milan on day 10 of the TOREMooS Cup. Now today I do have a special announcement for you all, but that is coming at the end of the video, so make sure you watch the whole video so you get to see that. And yeah, with that, enjoy the video. Yes, it is the last day of the TOREMooS Cup today, and it has been 10 days of very interesting Trello. I think Ramo has been doing very well in setting all these tasks and finding many ones that could easily trick many of you out. Although having said that, yesterday's results were very good and most of you actually got quite a lot of them right. So very well done to all of you. We will see what happens today. This obviously can be found on the Tempo Simulator, the link to which can be found in the description of this video. And yeah, we are going to do day 10. Now I am again going to have a look at some of the Google Maps sections, but I'm going to do it a bit quicker today. And we're going for the Garibaldi Biblioteca degli Alberi today, so I will quickly put that into Google Maps and let's have a look at the area. So this is the area you get when you search Garibaldi. You can see some of the place names here have Garibaldi in it, and you can actually see the Parco Biblioteca degli Alberi marked here, so we must be in this area. And by looking at the map, it is this section of map here, just above the central part. Now what I'm going to do today is find some areas and find my best 3 areas that I think could potentially be stations, and I will show you all 3 of them in quick succession. So station 1, and we have this view here where you can see there is a load of trees in a circle with quite a bit of fitness equipment in the centre, and we're just on one square block of grass. So this is part of the Biblioteca section, and if we look at the map you'll see here this circle of trees, and with the black dots as well, it's quite blurry, are the taller of the posts that are actually mapped rather than these little ones here. So this could easily be a station with controls on the corners of the grass, the trees, the equipment and these posts, and even a control on one of the lower posts which is an unmapped feature, and we know that wouldn't be an answer to a task. Station 2 is here with this bit of water with the paths running through it. If we look at the map you'll see there are 3 lily pad sort of things, and those are the holes going down in these 3 bits. I think there could be potential for controls potentially on the end of these bits of walls. However, there could also be zeros by putting them on the outside corner of the walls instead of the fencing, so the outside corner instead of the fencing. So yeah, I think there's easily the premise for 6 controls here on the corners of the water, the walls, the bends in the fence, and potentially this bit over there. So I think this could also very easily be another station. And then finally, for all you tree counting lovers, the 3rd location that I think could be a station is here. We have this line of trees on the paved area, this line of trees just on the grass, and a general scattering of trees there, which is these 4 trees, these 3, and the general scattering of trees here. There's also a building out in the background, and this building as well. So this building over there and the building here with the canopy underneath it, there could be a control in that bit of canopy there, and it does actually look quite hard with some of the further away features, so that could potentially be another of the stations. So yeah, those are my 3 quickfire locations that could potentially be stations today, and now let's go have a look at the actual event. So yeah, let's go into day 10, where today we have, again, a 1 to 4,000 map with 4 stations and a 4 meter zero tolerance. Now again, the photos are street view and other, so some of them will potentially be areas I just looked at, but also I'm guessing we'll have another view from very high up. Now the instructions today are again of yellow stripes on stations 2 and 4, so I'm guessing they're most likely to be the wide areas like yesterday, potentially from photos at the top of buildings. And also on station 3 there are several unmapped temporary items. Now obviously you wouldn't map temporary items on a map because they're not always going to be there, so that is standard for normal mapping, but it's nice of Ramo to let us know this. Now again, as always, my answers will be going in the top right hand corner of the screen, so you can see exactly what I'm putting at the moment I do, and we will see how I do today. Yesterday I did slip up slightly, but we all make mistakes on days, and that was yesterday. Today's a new day and we will see what happens today. So yeah, let's go into the final day of the TOREMooS Cup, to which here is station 1. Okay, so we have the area here. There is 6 kites right on the left of the photo, actually. The bushes, end of that corner of the wall set is a 0 because it's miles over there. Between the first 2 sets of trees, foxtrot, that set of trees is a 0.
That corner is Bravo, and the final set of trees is Charlie.
So yeah, 22 seconds does seem fairly slow, but that was quite a good one. It was trying to get the sense of bearings in station 1 with all the circles going around, and also actually all the controls were on the left hand side of the photo. Now I didn't particularly like that. I prefer it when the photo is centered halfway between Alpha and Foxtrot, because that is what is normally done in tempo. So I was a bit confused. I was looking to the right hand side of the photo trying to see if there are any kites there, but other than that, that was a good station. It made use of the walls. I think there was quite a nice trick with the set of 2 trees the other side of the wall, and then we returned to it, so those of you that made the mistake in task 3 would then have realised at task 5. But yeah, that was good. And now we go on to station 2 with the yellow lines, remember, at the top. So yeah, those are the yellow lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, foot of 2 sets of stairs in the bush there. Is it that bush? It looks like it is, yeah. Between the 2 trees must be Delta. That's foot of stairs is the middle one, so it's got nothing on it. That corner there of the canopy is the wrong canopy, and that patch there is the wrong patch. Okay, so 31 seconds is quite slow, but I think there were 3 zeros at the end, and I did just want to make sure they were all right. I think it was good that putting 2 controls on the foot of the stairs and then going for the one that we can't see in the photo. I thought that was a very good trick. And also wrong canopies and stuff. It was quite a wide angle, so it's quite hard to get a grasp of some of the locations on the map, but I don't think I've got any wrong there, so that is fine, and we will go on to station 3. Okay, so it's another wide one with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 controls. Okay, so those are the unmapped features. That's the triangle, so that's a 0. That is Delta. That on the open land corner, on the paved area, and up on that junction. So that was quite a nice quick station. 17 seconds does seem quite quick these days, considering I just did 31 seconds on the previous station. It was another interesting view, another wide angle. I don't know whether having the yellow lines might have been quite nice there on the wide angle, but I think it was clear with the unmapped features of all the picnic benches. They weren't really needed in solving the tasks. And yeah, I think the key to that station was definitely the triangular bit of land in the right hand side of the photo. So you really needed to spot that to help solve especially the first task. And then finally we'll go on to the final station of the whole TOREMooS Cup, which is station 4. And now again, remember, there are yellow lines at the top of this photo. Okay, well, crikey, that's a wide view. The buildings and the bridge over there, we want that building, so that is Bravo. That is the wrong side of the circle. That bit of fencing rather than the thing is the other end of the bridge, and that is Delta. Okay, so that was actually my quickest station. I'm surprised by that. I had a bit of a moment as soon as the photo came up, but we will see how that station went. But we will firstly go to station 1, and as I said before, I think preferably I would have liked the photo to be slightly to the left hand side, so all the controls are actually central in the photo. However, it was quite easy to spot all 6, and we want the northeastern end of a wall. Now firstly, it's trying to work out whether this is actually the right circle of walls. Could it be the one to the left or the one to the right? Well, the one to the right has a load of hills or knolls in it, and this one looks flat, so it's definitely not the one to the right. And the one to the left has 2 sets of walls, and I believe there's only 1 set of wall here like this one, so we must be on the right circle. But are we on the right end of wall? So if we are stood here, I believe, looking straight through, the angle of the map could be a bit more orientated, however, and Bravo and Echo are on these 2 corners of the garden areas, then Delta is on the end of the wall here. So we want the end of the next segment of wall, and looking up, that could be Alpha, but the stake of Alpha does go in between these 2 trees here, so I believe Alpha is far too far forward, and that one must be a 0. But again, 10 seconds, it took me a bit of time to get the bearings a bit, but I was just making sure it's right, and it's better to be 10 seconds and correct than 2 seconds and wrong, because that's 32 seconds instead of the 10. Then we come to the second task, and this sort of confirms that I am right, and we are on this circle, and we want between two trees, and we want the northeastern between two trees, and we look up and Foxtrot is on the right section of that circle. Is it between the correct two trees? Well, this is definitely the first tree. We follow it round outside, and this is definitely the second tree, and Foxtrot is between the two, and because you can see the stake of Foxtrot, it must be in front of the wall rather than behind. So I think that is clearly Foxtrot. We then go across to the other side, and we want the northeastern between two trees here. Now, there are multiple answers that I think you guys might have put here. I think you've either put Alpha or Charlie or 0 and getting it right, but it's definitely a 0 because we want between the two trees this side of the wall. So this is these two trees here, and now I've pointed that out, you will see there is no control between them and it must be a 0. However, if you're just glancing at the circle, Alpha is between two trees, the correct side of the wall, but it's between the second and third trees. So if you've not looked at it quite right, you may think it's Alpha. And Charlie is between the first two trees in a line, and it looks in about the right place, but you'll see that the stake is shorter than the rest of the controls, so it must be behind the wall rather than in front of it. And I think some of you may have realised this mistake later on in the station, but that is a 0. And then we get quite a nice problem on the inside corner of a thicket, and we just move from where we were to that corner, but it is checking whether it is Bravo or Echo, but I think it's clearly on the left hand side of the path, so it is Bravo. And then we go back up to where we were before, but this time we want the southwestern between trees, and we want the other side of the wall. So those of you that put Charlie for 13 would have realised that actually Charlie is the answer to this problem instead, and so may have spent a small bit of time being annoyed at yourself rather than pressing the Charlie button, which I do quite like. He's thrown that in there to try and play with your mind a bit, and because this is in station 1 as well, that you would have been thinking about this for the rest of the tasks, so it is definitely well placed in the competition. So yeah, that was a really good station. I would have potentially moved the photo though, so that we are looking halfway between Alpha and Foxtrot, just so it's a bit clearer to see all the controls, because actually if we go along the middle of the photo, all the controls are on the left hand side of the photo. So I was definitely looking at this thinking this will be Echo or even Delta, as I hadn't quite seen all the controls on this side. Where are any of the controls over here? So yeah, that's just something to think about when setting a station. We then go on to station 2, and the yellow lines definitely do help to show all the controls here, and we want another corner of thicket. Now I did spend a small bit of time trying to work out whether Alpha was on the actual correct corner of thicket. However, we can see here these two grey rectangles are the canopies, so it's this canopy here and the small canopy behind it, and so Alpha must be on the thicket after it, and we can also see the water fountain just here. So Alpha is just behind the water fountain, so it does look like it's on the right corner, so that is Alpha. And then we go to the circle right at the back, and we can see the circle here, and we want the middle between two trees, and we want the first two trees coming off from the path. So if we go from the path, this is the first tree and this is the second tree, and we want between these two trees, and Delta is between the two trees, so that is definitely Delta. And now we come to another set of 3 zeros, and we had a circumstance like this in day 6 maybe it was, where we had 3 zeros in a row. Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Again, it plays with the mind a lot, but firstly we want the middle staircase and we want the foot of that staircase. Now we can only properly see 2 staircases, the one that Echo's on and the one that Foxtrot's on. So if you're seeing 2 staircases and there are 3 on the map, and there are clearly none the left hand side of Echo, you'll think that there is potentially a 3rd staircase to the right hand side of the photo that we can't see, and so Foxtrot must be the right answer. However, what is quite hard to see is that there is a canopy here on the map, and if you look through the canopy carefully, you will see there is a staircase underneath this canopy. So this is actually the middle staircase, and so Echo and Foxtrot are not on the middle staircase, and the answer to this one is 0. But yeah, that is definitely clear, and I think that is a good task. I think that's definitely one that got people thinking, and it did take me 6 seconds, which does show that it threw me slightly, but I was just checking that I was getting it right. And then we get the corner of a canopy, and we want the northwestern canopy, and we want the eastern inside corner of it. Now, it is a canopy problem, and I did say last video that canopy problems tend to be zeros, and I might be caught out by that in today's, but it doesn't look like I have, because as much as Charlie is on the corner of a canopy, it is definitely on the right hand canopy of the two, which is the southeastern canopy, and we want the northwestern canopy, which you can just see a bit of break between the two, and it's just about here. So Charlie should actually be about just over 4 meters this way on this corner, so that one is also a 0, but I think that was quite a cruel task, but it's definitely very clear when you look at it properly which one it is. And then finally, the third 0, we want the southeastern patch of open land, and we want the southern corner of it. Now again, Bravo is on the southern corner of some open land, but it is on the northeastern patch of open land within the circle, rather than the southwestern. So the southwestern patch of open land is this long one here, and we want the southern inside corner, which is just off the photo about where my mouse is. So it is definitely 4 meters away from the actual location, but it is also clearly on a different feature. So that one again is definitely a 0, and there were actually 3 zeros to end that station, which I will say again does feel a bit weird and does definitely play on the mind a bit. But yeah, that was another really good station, and I did enjoy it a lot, even if it took me a small bit of time. And now actually looking at it, that station almost took as long as the next 2 combined. So these next 2 were potentially a lot easier, or I was just getting used to the sort of views that we've got. But we've got another wide angle view here, and again the controls aren't completely centered with the middle of Alpha and Foxtrot, but that is fine I think for this one. It's clear there are controls on the left and right hand side of the photo, and it is also clear that all these benches and tables and umbrellas are unmapped, but I don't think that hinders from solving it, because as I said before, the key to this one is this patch of triangle here, which you can see is this triangle here. So we must know that we are above this sort of circular bit of trees here, looking upwards in the northern direction. So that was getting the bearings on which part we're on, and now we want this path junction here. Now if we go from this triangle, delta must be on this corner here, and then we go along to the left hand side to where Alpha is on the junction, and then we go up and out the photo. So instantly that is a 0 because we're out the photo. So it must be on a junction on the northwestern corner of this circular bit here. Then we go across to this junction which I did talk about before on the triangle corner, and it must be delta there because it's on the path junction that we want. And then we go along to the other side, and I wouldn't be surprised if many of you put Alpha here because it looks like it's on the path junction. However, the task wants the northwestern inside corner of open land, and Alpha is on the junction, but Bravo is on the northwestern inside corner of open land. So this one was just checking the fine detail of it, but it is definitely Bravo on this corner here. And then we go up to the circle which we have identified before, and this is actually that bit of equipment and posts and trees that I showed you before as one of my 3 potential stations. We just got a different view of it, and we want some paved area. That's all we get. I potentially might have put a western part symbol in column G just to show it, but if we're saying paved area, the circle must clearly be centered on the left hand side of that paved area where Charlie is. So that must be Charlie. And then we come across to back to the triangle we had, and we want the path junction just over here on the other point of the triangle. So that one must be Foxtrot. It might have thrown you slightly because in the photo it doesn't look like a crossing, it just looks like a junction because you can't see the bit of path coming out here, but from the map you're reassured that there is a crossing rather than a junction, so Foxtrot must be the answer there. So I definitely think that was an interesting station using the shapes of the different areas of land, and as I keep saying, the key to this station was noticing the triangular area of land here. And now finally, I do have to say this was my favourite station of the day, and it's definitely up there for one of my favourite stations in the whole cup. Now again, it is a 3-0 though, but I think the 3 zeros are clear. So we get the photo, we've just got a load of buildings and these 2 circular areas of wall and trees, and we are asked to identify a corner of a building. Now firstly you look up and there are many buildings, so which one is it? Now if you look to the left hand side, you will see all this bit of paved area with the shapes marked out as outlines. So this must be this bit of road coming in and under the area we're looking at, and the building sticks out onto that bit, so it must be this building we're going for here, and we want the northern corner of it, and as north is this way, it must be this corner of it which Bravo is on, and it's not on the end of the fence, it's actually on the corner of the building, so that one is Bravo. And then we move to the 3 zeros of this station, the first one of which I think is fairly clear, but again there are 2 controls that people might go for. The choices here are really 0, delta and echo. Now delta is on the right circle because we've got the 2 circles here, which delta is on the first circle and echo is on the second circle, but it's on the wrong side of the circle. We want the left hand side of the circle and delta is on the right hand side of the circle. However, echo is on the left hand side of the circle, but as we've said, it's the wrong circle, so we definitely want the control to be here, and that one is a 0. Now the next 2, this was definitely the hardest of the 0s zeros, but the next two are definitely harder. We want the southeastern outside corner of a fence. And now definitely Foxtrot is on an outside corner. But is it the right one? Now if you look carefully, you'll see that the area that Foxtrot is on is rectangular, and the corner that we want is more rounded. Now I believe Foxtrot must be on this corner here instead, on this rectangular bit of out of bounds, and the fence going round it goes round here and it comes out, and you can see the sort of rounded shape it has here. So personally I think the task is going for this bit here, so that is another 0, and definitely it is 4 meters away, and it's definitely clearly on a different feature. We then come across right to the other side of the photo and you'll see we were on a bridge, and because we've gone from Foxtrot all the way to the other side, many of you might have easily put Alpha for this one because Alpha is definitely on the bridge. But if you look at it carefully enough, just from the centre of the circle, you can see that the circle is on the other side of the bridge to the one that we want. So Alpha is about here on this side of the bridge, the circle is on the other side of the bridge, so that is again clearly a 0, and there were 3 zeros in a row there as well. So yeah, that was definitely a fun task, and I definitely enjoyed all of those zeros. And then we go back and we get people kicking themselves here from 42 because they potentially put delta for the answer to this one, or they realise that echo was wrong to 42 that they might have put, and we get the end of a wall and we want the outside wall in the circle, and so that must be delta there on this path. So yeah, I think this station was very good. I think it was definitely one of the best stations to go out on, and I definitely really enjoyed it and the whole day. So that is the competing element of the TOREMooS Cup over and done with for me, and now we will go and have a look at the overall results. Again, 85 seconds. I don't think I've got any mistakes, so that could be very high. So let's have a look. And I am in joint third with Kentaro and Shota. So that is good. That is a very good outcome, and it's looking like the 89.1 points is definitely achievable today. But we will see where I am at the end of the day, and I will join you back then for the overall results. And we are back, and you will see that I have dropped slightly but not by much, and I've ended up in 7th place. I am really happy with this. It is joint with quite a few people, as you can see here, and it was really actually quite close between some of these guys in the middle. There was an outright winner though of Makia, so well done to him. He won by 1 second, and it looks like he was second during station 3, but by beating Eric by 2 seconds in station 4, it looks like he managed to just snatch the victory today there. So yeah, well done to him. We'll go through the stations now, and this is station 1. And we scroll, and it's looking very green. Maybe the first and third tasks were the hardest. Yeah, and the third was definitely the hardest, with only 74% of you getting it right. And there was actually quite a spread of wrong answers. I think I mentioned Alpha and Charlie being the 2 wrong answers that I potentially might have put, but also a couple for Delta as well. But 467 of you managed to get the right answer of 0 there, and slightly more of you got the first task right, but 106 of you went for Delta there. So we'll go and have a look and see about those 2 tasks. Now station 2, looking like there's a lot more red on this one, so it looked a lot harder. And yeah, we're down to 64-65% for some of these answers. Even the first task, which was not a 0, seemed very hard, and quite a lot of you actually put 0 for that. This was the one that was right on the edge of the photo, so it's potentially quite hard to see the answer there, so we'll go have a look at that. And also the third task and the 5th task, so 2 of the zeros, managed to catch quite a lot of people out. There was a spread between Echo and Foxtrot on the third one, which I'm not surprised about, because it was the foot of 2 different stairs, and it wanted the middle set, which neither Echo and Foxtrot were. And the final one was that corner of open land that was outside the photo, so I'm not surprised quite a few of you put Bravo for that. So we'll go have a look at really that whole station, because that was quite a hard station looking at the stats. Now for the third station, it's looking very green, so well done to all of you, because it looks like most of you got it all right. The lowest percentage here was 87%, so I think that was very well answered. So I'll briefly touch on the first task, even though I did it in quite a bit of depth during the section before. However, I don't think I really need to touch much more on that. It was very good. And then finally the last station, again it's looking very green. It's just a column on the third task really. Even then though, it was only 30% of you getting it wrong, and it was clear people were either putting Foxtrot or 0 there. So yeah, that's all we really have to look at today, because you all did really well in solving these tasks. But yeah, we'll go back and let's have a look at these tasks. Now the first 2 to look at are the 2 zeros in this first station. Now again, I think there was potential for mispunching here, because it is quite hard to see all 6 flags straight away. You are expecting some to be over here, which they're not, obviously. So again, potentially changing the viewing angle might have been useful there. But we are just going for the end of a wall, and quite a lot of you put delta for this because delta is on the end of a wall. However, looking at the direction of this wall rather than the direction of this wall here, there's clearly a 90-degree turn in that. So the direction of the end of the wall is facing the wrong way, so that one can't be delta. The other one is alpha, and I did say this before, if you look up in about the right place, alpha looks like it could be there. I'm not really surprised that alpha and delta were common wrong answers there. And then this one had quite a spread of answers of alpha, Charlie, and a couple of you went for delta as well. And again, they all look in about the right place, and not looking at the centre of the circle properly could make you think it's on the end of the wall rather than between the two trees. So again, delta doesn't seem like a surprise there. Alpha is between two trees on the right side of the wall, but it's on the wrong between two trees. And Charlie is between two trees but on the wrong side of the wall. So again, all three of those were potential wrong answers there, and I'm not surprised a few of you made that. But again, this station was very well answered, and I think all of these stations were actually very well answered. So you are definitely all improving as we're going through these. Now, in station 2, it was actually most of these that were fairly poorly answered. This first one especially, it's definitely hard to see really where alpha is exactly, or at least at a first glance it's quite hard to see. It is clearer now if you get time to study it that it's the other side of the water fountain, for example, which is the other side of these canopies as well, and it is on the first bit of bush here. And if you look just beyond it, you can see this strip of open land with the bushes as this bit of strip of open land here and the bushes behind it. So it is clearly now on the right bush, but again, I'm not really surprised that quite a few of you got that one wrong because of the angle of view. It is fairly hard to see. And then this one we touched upon, there is clearly now a staircase in the middle, which is not Echo or Foxtrot, but I'm not surprised that many of you put that because it is quite hard to see this staircase underneath the canopy. And then the other one was the corner of open land here, to which really Bravo is on a southern corner of open land, and it's the lowest one you can actually see in the photo. However, it is also clear that because this one moves down, there must be one outside the photo here, and we want the southeastern patch, and this one is more northwestern than this one, so this one is more southeastern, so it must instead be on the corner of this one. So that is again another clear 0. But again, I'm not really surprised that one was poorly answered, especially since we've had 2 zeros beforehand, and people might be doubting themselves thinking there's not going to be 3 zeros in a row, but in fact there were. And sometimes just believing in yourself that you have got it all right will pay off. This station, however, was very well answered. I think some of you were still getting your bearings a bit with this task, and so potentially got it wrong because you still hadn't really worked out where we were and you were just guessing. But as I do keep saying, this triangle was definitely the key to solving this task, and so if you didn't spot that, I think you may have struggled a bit in answering the first one, but you definitely learnt that from the second task, which is on the corner of the triangle, so that must be fine. And then the final station, which I do have to say is probably my favourite of the whole cup, because I just love it. I don't know why I love it. It just seems really cool. The kites are definitely too big, however they need to be big to be able to be seen, and yeah, I just really like this one. It seemed to flow a bit. But anyway, it was this third task which was the hardest one, or the one that was the worst answered, and it was my second longest time. But again, Foxtrot now is clearly on the corner of this outer bounds area, and you can clearly see the fence coming out around here. So that one must be a 0, as 4 meters in this photo is a lot smaller than 4 meters on a normal street view photo. But yeah, that was really good. I think the whole of today was really good, and actually the whole of the TOREMooS Cup was actually a real success, and I would like to thank Raymo again personally for putting on this cup. I have really enjoyed all of it. I feel like I have been challenged really in these tasks. You'd expect in an urban area for it to be quite easy potentially, and with some really quick times, but he has managed to find some really interesting stations that I don't think I would have potentially managed to think of if I was trying to set some courses. So again, thank you to Raymo for putting on this whole cup. It has really been a pleasure to compete in and take on some of your challenges. But with that, let's go and look at the final results for the whole of the TOREMooS Cup, and you will see that I have managed to retain my first place with a score of 990.02. I am really happy with that. You can't really do much better than that, can you? So yeah, that's always a bonus, but honestly I think just being able to take part in this TOREMooS Cup in itself is enough, because I have just really enjoyed taking on Raymo's challenges. But I think what is more interesting is what's happened with second and third place, because you will just about see, and I will scroll down because I'm aware the camera angles yesterday weren't great, that Alessio has just pipped Pavel, moving up from 4th to 2nd place by 0.04 points. And so Alessio takes 2nd place and Pavel takes 3rd, with Sebastiano in 4th place just behind them and Ralph in 5th place just a bit further behind that. So well done to all of them, and well done to everyone that's taken part in the TOREMooS Cup. You've all done amazingly, whatever position you're in, and I just really hope you've enjoyed taking part in the event as much as I have. And then the other two sections are the clubs and the countries, and by no surprise Polis Potiva Masi have completely stormed the competition. They are almost 100 points ahead of MDOC. So yeah, very well done to them. And also MTV CSUM in 3rd place, just behind MDOC. I think that is a well-deserved 1, 2, 3 there, and it has been a very interesting fight throughout the whole of the series. And now finally the countries, and by no surprise again, the Italians have won by almost 100 points again, but the Finnish have managed to take 2nd place, and Great Britain have just about managed to hold on to 3rd place, although this was the closest medal place, with the Germans only just behind them, about 8 points behind them there. So yeah, that is it. That is the end of the TOREMooS Cup. I hope you've all enjoyed taking part in it again as much as I have. It's been an absolute pleasure to take part in it and to be able to share it with you guys, and I hope to continue this through all the future TOREMooS, Taurus and whatever other events come our way. But now, finally, for the announcement. And in a couple of days time, specifically Saturday the 23rd, I will be interviewing the man himself, Raymo Medela, and I will be uploading this to the YouTube channel. And what I would like you to do in the comment sections today is just comment any questions that you would like me to ask Raymo. Now, I have a couple of questions myself, but I think it would be interesting to try and get some from you guys, as I will probably not think of some of the questions that you would like to ask. So yeah, so in the next couple of days, just make sure you're commenting below any questions you would like to ask Raymo, and also remember to, if you enjoyed this video, like it, and also make sure you're subscribing, because I'm sure you want to be notified as soon as I release that video of me interviewing Raymo. And I will see you in the near future for another event in Online Trailer.